goon suit was good, but unfortunately the goon suit was only on the market for a certain length of time. It got taken away by the Ministry of Defence at one stage because people were floating out to sea in goon suits and having to be rescued. But it was a good bit of kit, considering we'd had nothing before that. The wetsuit came along, brilliant, and then of course oversuits and all the rest of them, furries and so on. But I think from the cave rescue point of view, the two things that I remember particularly were the Little Dragon, the hot air kit, and this was something that was developed by the RAF for rescuing pilots that were downed in the sea. And the idea was that you could breathe hot air into the body straight away and actually warm the body up internally rather than trying to pack people up with clothing and things like that. So that was a very important piece of kit, and it worked. It was a chemical process. It was fairly simple. It only involved with a bit of carbon dioxide onto some soda lime, and the soda lime warmed up, and you breathed in and out through into this chamber, and the whole thing warmed up your body. It was a good bit of kit. And the second obvious thing is communications. I mean, the early communications was, well, the first communication was a runner. The only way you could find out what was going on down the cave was to send a runner down, and you just picked a good fast caver, and he'd go down and find out what was going on, come back and report to the surface. Then we had the telephone, which I already described as a single wire telephone. It's just ordinary telephone, nothing very clever about it. It was quite reasonably waterproof, it worked okay. But then of course after that people had started experimenting with underground communication, and that led to a whole field of research and things like that, and we came with the mole phone, and then the grunter phone was the Mendip version. There was an Ogoff phone, then we had the hay phone, the Nicola. There's a whole load of stuff now, and things came on very rapidly. I do know this, that sometimes people needed a fag. There's no question about it.
Was that the rescued person
or
the
rescued
rescuers?
person? No, the rescued person might need a cigarette to calm their nerve. The so-called, the cigarette to calm somebody's nerves, yes, it was definitely. So I'm not going to say no, it should never have been there. The doctors didn't like it. No question about that. In the early days, the relationship with the local police was very, very good. But bear in mind, we had a local bobby. I mean, my days go back to a Constable Casey, Jerry Bryce, the local constable in this area. They were brilliant. They'd turn up, they'd help you, whatever you needed. They could be, if it was a case of raising some equipment from somewhere, they could deal with that. But yes, they were good, and the ambulance people were quite reasonable, because we would often tell them, they'd say, "Do you want the ambulance now?" "No, don't bring it now. We don't need it for 3 hours. It's going to take 3 hours to get this guy out the cave. Don't bring it. We'll phone you, we'll contact you when we need it." And that saved an awful lot of effort. It saved ambulances hanging around at the cave entrance for hours on end with them nothing to do. They couldn't do anything until the casualty was out, so why turn up? Same with the fire brigade. The fire brigade were good because occasionally we needed pumping. We needed pumping, the streams pumped. I mean, the classic example was the one with Derek Ford in it, where Derek got trapped in Swilderness, which I think you probably know all about. At the same time as that was happening, there was a simultaneous rescue in St Cuthbert's where the fire brigade were called out to get a party out. That particular day there was a monumental flood on Mendip. Simultaneous rescues, Swildens and Cuthbert's. Wow. So yeah, so the relationship then was good, and it stayed good for a long time. But I think once we lost the local contact, the local bobby disappeared, things changed. I mean, I remember days when we used to go playing skittles with the local bobbies over in Frome and down in Taunton.